I spent 3 months living the expat life in Lima, Peru. Here's the good, the bad, and everything that you need to know before coming here. So to start off, why should someone go to Peru? For starters, the food there is incredible. I never had a bad meal, aside from the ones I've cooked, in the entire 3 months that I was there. Every dish you get is well presented, tastes amazing, and there's honestly just nowhere else like it. I'm not a big foodie, but every time I went out, I enjoyed it. Another big draw for me was that it was on the ocean. I love the water, and having it right there was pretty cool, especially the sunsets, because they'd always reflect off the water and look amazing. It's also cheap as hell. Like, I went out quite frequently and had a hard time spending like $30 on a meal. Now that may seem like a lot, but I was going to fancy restaurants, getting multiple drinks, and it would have been an $80, $90 meal here in Canada. This is in Canadian, by the way. And in Peru, it was $20, $25. I remember ordering a pizza and getting it delivered for like $7. The delivery fee was like 50 cents or something like that. So it's definitely a lot cheaper than North America. You can really live like a baller lifestyle for pennies on the dollar. If you're living frugally here in Canada, like making $5,000, you can definitely live a pretty amazing lifestyle without going broke in Peru. If you're into like the whole dating scene, it's not hard down there. I had Tinder when I was down there, and I actually got invited to like this exclusive side of Tinder that I didn't know exists because I was in like the top 1% down there or something. I went from getting 10, maybe 20 likes here in Canada to hundreds down in Peru. And on the topic of dating and just life in general in Peru, it's pretty safe. It's Latin America, so you still have to watch out, and it's not the safest spot in Latin America, but it is definitely a safer city than some other areas, and I never ever felt in danger when I was there. I still kept my wits about me anytime I was out in public and was smart about it. Like if I was coming home late, I'd take an Uber instead of walking home, but as long as you're mindful, you'll be fine. It also has amazing weather 6 months of the year. You can go and have sun every single day and have it be warm and never have it rain. This was probably my favorite part about it, was just the fact that I could go out without an umbrella and never have to worry. One thing that I very well enjoyed about Peru that I never thought that I would was all the history and the culture. Like, a lot of people talk about Machu Picchu when they think of Peru, but the amount of Inca ruins inside Lima itself is insane. There's ruins all over Peru, really, and there's stuff that I never even heard about. Like, there's a spot where you can fly over that has lines in like the sand that are hundreds of years old. There's just no weather there to get rid of them. There's restaurants that you can eat at that are like next to ruins that are super cool. And there's museums that you should definitely check out down there that give you the history of it all. On this topic too, outside of Lima, you can do anything. You can go to a desert. You can go to the rainforest. You can go to the mountains. You can go to the beach. Like, every single climate except snow that you could want is in Peru. For us digital nomads, the infrastructure there is amazing. Like, the buildings are all modern condos with pools on the roof and great Wi-Fi. So you won't have any issues working there, and you will definitely not have any issues living there. Like, everything there is as modern as the US or Canada. And although only a few areas are like nice that you can go into and experience this, you'll never get bored. There's always a new bar that you can find or a new experience that you can have. And I wandered around the streets for 3 months and never ever thought I was seeing the same thing too many times or not knowing what to do. There's always something new that could keep me entertained. The next point is, why not go to Peru? Now, this is probably the biggest turnoff for a lot of people. I hated it at first, but it kind of grew on me after a while. And that is how much you get harassed by people. When I was leaving the airport, I was getting harassed by taxi drivers. Anytime you were walking down the street, there'd be people standing outside of a restaurant harassing you to come eat at their restaurant, or you'd have people come up to you begging for money and stuff. I kind of learned to enjoy the heckling, but in the beginning, and for a lot of people, it will definitely be kind of a turnoff for them. Another thing that some people might not like is how much pollution is in the city. The cars are a lot older and not as efficient, I guess. So there's definitely a bit of smog, I guess you'd say. Nothing too insane, but it is kind of noticeable some days. Now, I know earlier I said the weather's amazing 6 months of the year, but on the flip side of this, it sucks half of the year. You get full sun every single day for 6 months, and then for another 6 months, you get no sun at all, just cloudy. If you're going to go, I'd go from like December through to April and then come home in May. Now, another thing that I said earlier was that Peru was relatively safe, and this is true for Latin America. However, it's not North America. You got to be careful. I don't mean to scare you, but a lot of people get their phone stolen down there because they're talking on the phone, walking down the street, and some motorcyclist comes up and grabs it out of their hand. They're not going to hold you at gunpoint, but they do have crimes of opportunity where you are in a vulnerable position, like on the street out on your phone, and they quickly take it before you even know what happened. So keep your phone away. If you're going to be on your phone, I always go into the corner of a building or in front of a police officer just to get directions, and then you should be fine. There's police everywhere in Miraflores or Barranco or the nicer areas of Lima. So just keep that in mind. And if you're not comfortable, don't walk around the streets late at night. I did, but I also felt pretty confident by the time I left. But when I got there, I played it safe and just had an Uber. Again, I don't mean to scare you. I never had any issues. I never felt unsafe there, but it's not North America. You're no longer in a bubble. You can't go in every neighborhood. You can't go out at night. You just gotta keep your wits about you. Another thing that might freak you out is their driving. It's honestly kind of wild how they drive. I wouldn't want to drive down there. And if you're in a vehicle, you definitely might be sketched out at some times in your drive. There's no real way to explain it. It's just everything's all over the place and it somehow works. I never see any accidents, but it just is wild. I was in a vehicle at least 3 times when the drivers were road raging with each other. Like my Uber driver was yelling at some other driver, or some other driver was yelling at him and trying to cut him off. And it was just, it's a crazy experience. Alongside this, there's like a honking culture down there. Like in Miraflores, there's actually fines that you can get for honking. But if you're not in that area where the drivers can get fined, there is a ton of honking. I made the mistake of booking an Airbnb right on like the main drag. There's a bus stop nearby, and pretty well every few minutes, day and night, there'd be some sort of honking going on. So just something to keep in mind. If you're booking an Airbnb, try and get it off like a main street. Otherwise, you're going to be hearing honking and it might drive you nuts. Now, the next thing I want to talk about are a few things that you should know before going to Peru. Now, in terms of where to stay, you should stay in Miraflores or Barranco. I found a nice place on the border of Miraflores inside Barranco. This had like a cheaper rent, but it was still close enough to Miraflores that I could experience the whole thing there. And I also got to experience the culture in Barranco. So I definitely think that's a good spot to go. You want to be close to JF Kennedy Park, as well as the Lagomar, however you pronounce it. That's going to be the best area for going out, being close to the nicest gyms, being closest to the nicest neighborhoods, the nicest parks, and that's where you're going to have the best lifestyle. Now, when you get out of the airport, after you get in your Uber, you're going to be kind of like regretting your decision to go to Peru. It's pretty sketchy as soon as you get outside the airport. If it's your first time in Latin America and you're not used to this, you're probably going to be a little bit scared, but just know that as you get down to the water and get closer to Miraflores and Barranco, it really starts to clean itself up. I personally like going through that area now. I always find it makes me feel like I'm in Latin America when I get there, but when you first get there, if it's your first time out of North America, it's definitely going to be a shock. So just prepare yourself for that. You're going to be fine in the Uber, and you're going to be fine when you get to Miraflores and Barranco. It's a completely different spot, so don't worry too much. Now, this next tip pretty much goes for all of Latin America except a few areas, but especially Lima, and that's not to drink the water. I read when I was down there that it comes out of some river or something, and it's full of like heavy metals. Even if you like filter out the bacteria that's in it, you're still not going to be able to drink it. So I always get the like 1 gallon jugs at a convenience store and then drink it with them. I did my dishes with the water, but aside from that, I definitely wouldn't recommend messing with the water that is in Peru. It's going to make you sick, so just stay away from it. When it comes to phone plans, the 2 main carriers down there are Movistar and Claro. Definitely recommend using one of them. I use Movistar and it was great. I had to go to like a main office. Like if you go on Google Maps and look up their places, they have locations in like malls and stuff. You can't go to one of them as a tourist. You got to go to like a main Movistar building. If you do go to a mall, they will help you out and tell you where you have to go, but just something to keep in mind. Another thing you got to watch out for when it comes to getting sick is food poisoning. It's Latin America. Not everything is going to be kept up to the standards as North America. So street vendors, I'd stay away from, and you want to be careful with ice. Aside from that, make sure you're getting cooked foods and not eating anything raw. Obviously, there's a lot of ceviche and stuff. Take your own risk there, but I never had any issues. You probably won't have any issues, but nothing sucks worse than being sick in a country with no one around and having to deal with it yourself. So just something to keep in mind. When it comes to language, you do want to know a little bit of Spanish. There's not a whole lot of English in Peru. Knowing Spanish is going to make your life a hell of a lot easier. My Spanish isn't the greatest, to be honest, and I made it just fine, but it would have definitely been a better experience if I had known a lot more Spanish. If you're like me and you enjoy going to the gym, then I would recommend going to SmartFit. They have these all over South America, so that's typically the gym that I go to when I'm down there. However, a cool one to go to is the SmartFit in the Locomar. The Locomar is a mall built into the side of the cliff overlooking the ocean. So the gym is super cool. If you want to go on a treadmill, you're literally looking out a glass window that goes all the way from the floor to the ceiling, and then you are overlooking the ocean. So it's definitely a cool spot to go. I got my gym membership there. One thing about it though is it's busy as hell. So if you can go in the off hours, like early afternoon or late morning, it's probably the best thing to do. Otherwise, I wouldn't even bother going there. It's going to be too busy. You won't find any equipment. And there are other SmartFits in the city that are nice, so you can always go there, especially if you get like a black membership, I think it's called, and that's extremely cheap. In terms of like bars and stuff to like go on dates or go out with friends and family or people that come down to see you, 24/7 tapas is a cool one. It's on the rooftop of a hotel and it overlooks the ocean kind of. It's not fully on the ocean, but you can definitely see the sun setting over the ocean, and it's taller than all the buildings around, so they're not in the way. So it's definitely a cool spot to go. There's Ambra. This one's a little more exclusive to get into. I think the only reason why I got into it was because I went with a local and they knew someone that worked there. But I don't know if I would have got in if I didn't have that connection. I'm honestly not too sure. It seemed like I probably wouldn't have, but I mean, you can try it out, see what happens. It's another cool bar. It's not fully on the roof. There's like a outdoor patio at the top of another hotel and a indoor section. The indoor section's super cool. You can overlook the city. You're pretty much the tallest building and you can see all the lights on like the hillsides going up. So I definitely recommend going there after dark, and it's definitely a cool experience. And then another bar that I thoroughly enjoyed was Cala. This is on the ocean and it's super cool. You can sit on the patio literally feet away from where the waves are crashing in, and it's another like exclusive spot. You can get in easily, but if you're wanting to ball out and have a good experience, this is definitely the place to go. It has a pretty cool drink menu as well, so I definitely recommend going there too. And then there's also an area in Barranco that I'll throw up on the screen here, and an area in Miraflores. These both have like 10, 15, 20 bars all in this like small little area. And it's a great spot to go. If you're wanting to go out for the night, you can go down one of these streets and there's a bar for everyone. There's different music playing, different vibes in each bar, and it's definitely a cool spot to go if you like just want to wing it and have a good night. It's a little less premium, which is completely fine. And honestly, you can walk by and a lot of people will offer like a free drink to get you into the bar. So you can play with this a bit and go to multiple bars and drink for pretty cheap. On the topic of like bars and food and stuff, this is pretty much it for all Latin American places that I've been to. But Rappi and Pedosia are the two main delivery services. So if you want to order food, that's what you go with. They're pretty quick and they're very cheap. Like I said before, I got a pizza ordered to me for like $1. So it's pretty cheap delivery fees. And you can get anything from groceries to items picked up from people in the city to food. So the next point is who should go to Peru? I think anyone who's looking to dip their toes into Latin America should definitely look at Peru as one of the best countries to start in. The reason is you're not in a bubble, but you're still relatively safe for Latin America. So you can get a good feel for it and learn how to like thrive down there without having to worry about getting kidnapped or killed for your shit. You might get something stolen, but that's likely the worst that's going to happen. And honestly, as long as you're smart about it, not waving wealth around and being mindful of your phone, you will be fine. So because of this, I definitely think it's one of the safer areas that you can go in Latin America while still getting that Latin America vibe. So I'd recommend it as a starter city. It's also very cheap. So anyone who is living a decent life in North America but really wants to like ball out, you can live like a king in Peru for very little. If you make like $5,000 a month, it is definitely a place to go. You're going to be able to find a place with a rooftop pool. You're going to be able to go out frequently, drink frequently, have amazing meals, do amazing experiences, and not need to pinch pennies. It's not going to hurt the wallet. You're going to be able to sustain it. Now, as for length of stay, I'd recommend staying down there a few months. I wouldn't stay there for like a long period of time for two reasons. One, you can only stay there 3 months without running into visa issues. What a lot of people do is overstay and then pay a fine when they leave. However, there's always the slim chance that you get a prick as a border officer and they impose restrictions on you coming back or something like that. So I always try to avoid that where possible. So 3 months is probably the maximum I'd stay for that reason. And the other thing you got to keep in mind is the weather is going to suck half the year. So if you go for the 3 months that is nice, you're going to have amazing weather, but I wouldn't go in like their winter when it's cloudy all the time and not very nice. So that's why I wouldn't recommend staying there a long period of time, as if you do, you're going to be in that period of weather where you're seeing clouds every single day and not seeing any sun. Now, as for who shouldn't go to Peru, if you're someone who hates danger and just wants to live in a little bubble where you're completely safe, nothing's going to happen to you, then Peru's not the place to go. Honestly, I wouldn't leave America or Canada, wherever you live, because you're going to run into that. Now, I'm not trying to scare you here. It is one of the safer places you can go in Latin America. It's just still Latin America. There's people up to no good, and you're probably not going to run into them, especially if you protect yourself in the ways that I've talked about in this video. But it's also not like a Dubai where there's no crime. There is crime. You just gotta be smart about it and you'll be fine. Another type of person who shouldn't go there is someone who's like completely broke. I know I said it's pretty cheap, and it is, but there's probably better spots for you. I'd say Paraguay or Bolivia are going to be a lot cheaper options. You won't really find anywhere else better than that. Also, if you're going there expecting nice sandy beaches along the shoreline of Lima, they're not what you get in Jamaica. The water's a little rough. Some of the beaches are rocky. So if that's something that you want, there's definitely better areas for you to go. That could mean in Peru or another coastal country in Latin America. But I wouldn't shy away from it either because of that. The beaches are swimmable. They're semi-decent. Some of them might be rocky. Some of them are pretty rough. But a lot of people are out surfing. A lot of people are in the water. It's still like a place where you can go in the water and swim. But it's not the Caribbean. It's not teal water or sandy beaches. Is just a beach. Now, you may be wondering, would I go back to Peru? And to answer that question, absolutely yes. I loved it in Peru. I would 100% go back. The only reason why I haven't is because I want to explore other areas down there. You don't know if some place is the best unless you test out everywhere else first. But after I get through the other countries in Latin America, I can definitely see myself going back to Peru regularly. It's probably my favorite spot that I've been to so far out of all the places I've been down there. And I definitely recommend it to anyone who's interested in going. I know the danger might scare a few of you, but it's not that bad. You'll be fine. My favorite part of Peru was definitely walking the boardwalk at the top of the cliff and going to the gym every day. It was definitely a very fun experience that felt like I was paying a lot less than I should have been, especially for an Airbnb that was that close to the water. Aside from that, it was a lot of fun going out to the bars and stuff. Each one has its own vibe. The drinks are super fancy, and everywhere you go is just going to be an incredible experience. I know this video has been extremely long, and honestly, I could go into a lot more stuff. I could talk more on cost of living. I could talk more in depth on things to do. So if you'd be interested in that, drop a comment, and if there's a few people that are wanting to see that, I'll definitely make a part 2. If you're thinking of nomading and wondering how I got into nomading, then definitely check out this video right here, and don't forget to click subscribe.